The date was June 9, 1983. Inside the sterile concrete walls of Fort Meade, Maryland, Lieutenant Colonel Wayne McDonnell finalized a report for the CIA titled The Gateway Process. This document, declassified in 2003, revealed a project born from the desperation of the Cold War. At the time, the United States was in a frantic race with the Soviet Union to explore the potential of psychic warfare, looking for a weapon that was not made of metal. The Soviets were investing heavily in telepathy and remote viewing research, forcing American intelligence to investigate the ultimate untapped resource, the human consciousness itself. McDonnell was tasked with collaborating with the Monroe Institute to scientifically validate techniques that claimed to allow humans to project their minds beyond physical barriers. This wasn't a spiritual quest. It was a military-funded investigation into psychological mechanics. The CIA's perspective was purely functional. They viewed the human brain not as the source of thoughts, but as a biological receiver. If the signal captured by the brain was infinite, then the physical body was merely a temporary shell. The goal was to find a way to dismantle this biological cage to allow soldiers to view distant secrets without ever leaving their chairs in Maryland. This 29-page report remained hidden in the archives for 20 years. It starts with the premise that our senses are designed to filter out the truth of the universe. To read it is to understand the mechanics of how the government attempted to master the human soul for strategic advantage. The era of the psychic traveler was being mapped out in the deepest silence of the military's most secret archives. The technical foundation of the gateway process was hemisync, hemispheric synchronization. The human brain is naturally divided. The left hemisphere handles logic, while the right handles intuition. They rarely resonate at the same frequency. By using binaural beats, the CIA forced these two halves into a state of total synchronization, allowing the brain to act like a coherent laser. This synchronization was the key to bypassing the physical ego. When the brain vibrates as one, the internal mirror of reality shatters. The report argues that our entire universe is an energy interference pattern, a massive hologram. Matter is not solid. It is simply energy vibrating at specific frequencies. Human consciousness acts as the projector that illuminates this grid and brings it into focus. If the universe is a hologram, then distance is an illusion. To travel to the other side of the planet, one does not move through space. One simply changes their internal vibration to match the destination. The CIA researchers found that the brain could be hacked to perceive the data structure behind the image. Trainees were taught to treat reality not as a place, but as a signal they could tune into at will. By adjusting their frequency, trainees could potentially navigate the holographic matrix, bypassing the linear flow of time. They reported seeing the world as a complex network of energy lines. The process showed that the boundaries of human biology were not absolute, but rather a set of software limits that could be overwritten by a mind operating at the correct frequency. The training moved through specific stages called focus levels. Focus 10 was the baseline, mind awake, body asleep. In this state, the mind remains sharp while the physical form is paralyzed. As trainees progressed to focus 12 and 15, their consciousness expanded beyond the skin, entering a state of no time where the past and future could be viewed simultaneously as data points in the grid. At Focus 21, trainees reached the edge of the physical dimension. They reported a phenomenon called clicking out, a sudden, violent ejection from the meat shell. They described floating above their own bodies, looking down at their physical selves as if they were just discarded clothes. They were no longer observing reality. They were navigating the data structure of the absolute as non-physical entities. Within the grid, they documented encounters with shadow beings, entities that inhabited the frequencies between human thoughts. These shadows were not seen as hallucinations, but as original inhabitants of the grid, watching the human experiment with cold indifference. The goal was to reach a level of remote viewing, where any coordinate on Earth could be observed with absolute accuracy, treating the soul as a weaponizable signal. The experiment proved that the hologram is not fixed. By focusing intent, trainees could influence the grid, creating ripples in the fabric of reality. They were learning to see the bars of the physical prison and theoretically, how to bend them. The CIA realized that the mind was the ultimate high ground, where reality is decided before it ever manifests in the physical world. This was the true battlefield of the Cold War. When the report was declassified in 2003, one page was missing, page 25. It wasn't an accident. The CIA knew that the information on that single page provided the ultimate philosophical conclusion of the project. For 20 years, it was a black hole in the archives, fueling endless theories. It wasn't until 2021 that the page finally emerged, revealing why it had to be hidden from the public eye. Page 25 described the universal hologram and the absolute, the divine source of all vibration. It confirmed that human consciousness is of the exact same substance as the absolute itself. Fear is the only chain that truly holds the cage together. We are spiritual beings having a brief, heavy human experience. McDonnell finished his report and sealed it, knowing he had identified the exit to the physical world. He saw only a flicker of light temporarily trapped in a cage of skin. Today, the gateway process is a subject of intense debate. Is it science or pseudoscience? The report utilized concepts from quantum mechanics to build its case, proving that at one point, military intelligence officially viewed the human body as a temporary holographic shell. The barrier between humanity and the absolute is described not as a wall, but as a frequency we have yet to tune into. The door has always been open, waiting for a mind brave enough to adjust its own frequency. This was the true nature of the CIA's most secret manual. Analysis complete. CIA gateway process. How do you feel about this?